Hello everyone, here I'm back again with another Escalation Tier 10 video. This time I'm going to be doing Aerospace Museum. I already did this mission back in Season 1, but I wanted to do another video for Season 2 to take some updated tips for the current seasonal modifier and the mutator modifiers that we have for Year 8 Season 2. About the build, I'm using double MK46. Every LMG has Echo, Critical Hit Chance, and Frenzy. One of them is God Roll, the other one is not, but it should still work. I'm using Quick Step for the pistol, 4-piece striker, everything with critical hit damage. I'm using the backpack and the chest piece, and I have 2 critical hit chance mods and 1 critical hit damage mod. For gloves, I'm using Exodus because this is like best in slot gloves for solo play, especially for the smoke bomb thing. And I'm using Sheska knee pads, almost God roll, all red. So yeah, Reviver Hive and the Decoy are my skills. And for the seasonal modifier, it's already maxed out with all sample size. I'm using the Invincible Active modifier, and I'm using Munitions, Veil, Surge, Drive, and Contagion for passive modifier. The last one is especially useful for DPS. So yeah, let me put this on tier 10 and let's go. So as always, at the beginning of this mission, I like to throw a decoy on the left side of this NPC, and I like to stay right over here. And then I start focusing my fire on all enemies, the closer enemies that are in my position. So in this case, I'm gonna be focusing on this LMG guy, this guy that is approaching me, and I always well, for this mission I would recommend like just taking cover for this beginning encounter so that one, you don't get shot from cover when the RPG guys are suppressed, especially the other ones. And as you take care of all of the enemies in this room, you can start pushing forward and start focusing on the RPG guys that are there. They are in a pretty annoying position, but yeah, we really don't have too much choice on how we can deal with them. For this one, I like to go over here, throw a decoy so that I can scare them out. And I can start focusing on this guy. Shooting on the backpack so that they're not able to shoot at me. And the last one is right over here. And as always, for variety pack, I'm using double LMG. That way I can keep my DPS the most consistent as possible. And I'll also always switch for another LMG the moment I get at least one kill with that particular weapon. So in this case, I already got the kill on my second LMG. So I have to make sure that the next room I start with the first one. And another tip, as always, already said this in the Jefferson Plaza video, make sure that for every room you try to get in there with at least 500 bullets, LMG bullets to be more exact. If you cannot get the bullets, then you can always go back to like ammunition for an ammunition box and just fill out your ammo. So yeah, also always keep an LMG ready without ammo so you can proc Frenzy on the best time possible. So yeah, let's open the garage door. And then for this part, I like to throw a decoy right over here and start shooting them from this room. I start focusing on the enemies from the right, and I start peeking through the more enemies I kill. So yeah, pretty straightforward room. You have like 5 enemies, so yeah, you just need to be careful on like not getting flanked and not getting down in this crap room. And there we go. So yeah, some of you guys already noticed, but like I always try to have at least one enemy within my line of sight and try to cut line of sight with the rest of the enemies. That way I don't get targeted by too many enemies at once, especially when you're not taking cover, where enemies are usually more accurate than if you were to take cover and then peek out to shoot. They usually get like some kind of accuracy debuff, and you can trade more damage with them, but in that instance, just hide behind the wall. That's like general advice that I can give. So for this part, I like to go on the top of these stairs. So reloading my gun, and then I start focusing fire on all the enemies right on the middle of these machines. What I like about this part is that you have a ton of space so you can move around, and you also have a pretty good line of sight of all the enemies that are coming around. I always try to focus first on the enemies that are right on the back of the room. I then try to focus on the enemies that are a little bit closer to me, like in this part with the machines. And then the enemies that are right under me, like I would only focus on them if I'm like starting the encounter, just to get some quick kills. But yeah, I think it's more important to just don't get shot down from this position. And also make sure that enemies don't try to like flank you by going up the stairs. So yeah, that was this encounter. Be careful with the machines because those kills will count for the variety pack. But you can see I already got the clown debuff, so that's variety pack. Just keep that into mind. And for the last, there's gonna be 2 more enemies that we can kill from the same place as before. And there we go. That was that room. Let's keep going. Have 649 bullets. Alright, that should be enough for this room. Gonna throw a decoy over here. That way you can get the attention from the enemies that are coming from the white door. And we're gonna get alternating waves. 1 wave of snipers, 1 wave of normal enemies. There comes the sniper wave. And we gotta be careful with the yellow ones because those usually can like one-shot us and they can start shooting at us even if they're suppressed. So yeah, just be careful with that. And as you already saw, we have a pretty good line of sights where we can like peek the snipers and just shoot them, like what I just did. So yeah. You also have some fire things that you can shoot so that the enemies are forced to stand up. And we have to be careful that we don't get rushed too aggressively by enemies with the EMP thing, because then we can lose our reviver time for some moment. We can get insta-killed by one of those rushers, and we lose our escalation tokens. So yeah, be careful with that modifier. The one with the drone, the EMP thing. Don't remember how it's called. Now, I got the last kill with the first LMG, I remember, so I'm gonna start the next encounter with the second one. We open this door, and I'm gonna be throwing this decoy right behind this this machine. I forgot how to call it. And we can pretty much take care of all the enemies from right this piece of cover. We can control the line of sight of like how many enemies we can see from the right side, and yeah, it's a pretty good position. I still use it to this day. As we kill more of the enemies, we can start pushing towards the center of the room by taking cover on this thing, and we can flank them pretty easily, which is pretty much what I did. So yeah, as I said, it's a pretty straightforward mission. I think it's a pretty good mission to farm stuff in general, either escalation tokens or stuff. So yeah, now I like to drop a decoy over there. Right, that's the direction where the enemies are coming from, and I'm gonna be hiding behind this piece of rock. That way I can get a pretty clear line of sight from all the enemies that are coming out from the door, and I'm able to like gun them down. After you kill, what was it, 5 enemies I believe, you're gonna get the next enemy wave right over here on that door. And if there's not too many enemies left on the room, you can use the gunner LMG so that you can save on high quality munition. That way you don't have to waste that many ammo and are able to squeeze more escalation runs on a single 600 stacks of high quality ammo. So yeah, that's actually a pretty good thing about this season. So I'm actually using the specialization weapons and improving them, which is pretty nice. For this part, I like to throw a decoy right over there. That way I can take the attention for any enemy that might flank me from the right, and I focus all my attention on the enemies on the left first. And then as I kill them, I just start focusing on these enemies right here. There's always a sniper flying there, so yeah, just be careful with line of sight and don't get sniped. And then for this part, the moment we hit this part, the enemies are gonna be spawning, so we can go back upstairs and hide over here and use the rocket um, to take care of our line of sight with the enemies. And we can pretty much kill all the enemies from over here. I changed too soon. That's a thing that can always happen with variety pack, but it's okay. There's another enemy wave. I believe it's 4 enemies, if I remember correctly. Where's the enemy? I don't see them. Let me go downstairs. Maybe they're hiding or something. Or they probably got stuck. Oh, it's Shanga. And there we go. Have to use the second LMG for next part. So yeah, normally after you kill all the enemies, what you will do is from here, you will run on this yellow thing, go down, and interact with the weapon thing on the table, the missile parts. And I always like to finish up with this missile part right over here, so that the moment that Manny starts speaking, I can drop a decoy and I can take this position right here to take care of the last enemy wave on this room. That's one, that's two, and that's three, and that's the last one. And as I said, if it is the last enemy and you don't want to waste another valuable stack of high quality ammo, you can use the specialization weapon. Also, the gun reloads itself the moment you swap to another weapon, so yeah, that's what I like a lot about that weapon. Now for the last encounter, I always like to fill out all my LMG ammo, so I'm gonna be doing just that. And the moment I empty out both of my LMGs, I'm gonna be putting them both of them away, and I'm gonna make sure that I have everything ready for the next boss fight. The two LMGs, that is. So yeah, now we can interact with the laptop, and we can get inside the boss room. So right over here, I throw a decoy by around that box, and then with the quick step, I'll run all the way to the back of this room. I'll take cover, and this is pretty much the vantage point where I'm gonna be shooting all the enemies that are gonna be approaching us. I try to do this because the boss has a tendency of trying to get close to you, and the moment the enemy gets too, well, the boss gets too close to you, you pretty much get targeted by the boss. Because he's like a name LMG guy, like he can do some ridiculous amount of damage. So yeah, that way I can get the most distance from the enemy, and also like I'm able to like take care of like his minions. So yeah. Also because it's escalation tier 10, we have to be careful that we don't get the healing guys. Surprised I didn't get NPCs with healing though. So yeah, and yeah, just as I told you, like the guy has a tendency to try to push you over. So just keep that into mind when dealing with the NPCs. You have a ton of DPS, you can take care of most of the NPCs before the boss approaches you. But if it's not the case, I'll still try to like target the NPCs, and you can move around all this area where I'm running at, like hide behind this forklift, um, hide behind this box over here. I think it was part of the video that I actually made in this channel. We remember. Or if you there's not that many NPCs, you can also try pushing a little bit forward. But again, I didn't have the need to do that because of the DPS. So yeah, that's pretty much Air and Space Museum. Pretty chill mission, pretty straightforward, and it's a nice mission to like farm escalation completion rewards. So yeah, if you like this video, as always, you can like, subscribe, and comment. I read all of the comments. And yeah, that's the mission summary. Now, took me 12 minutes, 48 seconds. I could probably do a little bit better, but yeah, 86, 87 kills. That's a pretty decent amount of enemies. So yeah, see you in the next video, guys. Bye bye.